This discussion, but that's life. We have to do this program. And I want also to present my perspective on art and ecology. What's the meaning of art and ecology? First of all, I would like to talk a little bit about me. My name is Dimos Flessas. My father's name is Michalis. My mother's name is Adonia, and I was born in 1945. My eyes are of color brown, and I belong. I'm a human being. I imagine you are as well. So I would like to talk about ecology and art. You're going to ask me what's the relation between ecology and art. Art is about our deeper self, our inner self. Ecology is about our exterior part, the social surroundings, natural surroundings, and our planet. As you can understand, these two things are interconnected. So it's important to talk about, to share with you my personal story about something that's relevant to everybody. And I start with me because that's how it happens, and I will generalize later. I do know that all speeches are a bit tiring, so I try to give a more fun tone in my presentation, in my speech. This is why I have introduced some music in my speech. So I will start with a song that's very relevant to what we've been discussing. It's a song written by a musician and poet, Yannis Degrepontis, on the occasion of a lecture. So the title of the song is A Lecture. So I'm going to now to play this song with my guitar.
Διάλεξη σε δίδετο, περί του μαλακάσει. Κι είπα κι αυτός ο έρημος να πάει να ξεσκάσει.
So that was my song. I will continue with my speech. I just used that song not to bore you with too many words. I will now read to you some parts of my CV. Dimos Flessas, me, was born in Athens under the shadow of the Acropolis. So he was born in Plaka. And she was born in 1944. He graduated from the first kindergarten of the area at the corner of Flessas and Andrianou Street. Indeed, it is called Flessas Street as my surname. I completed primary school and secondary education. I graduated from the first secondary education school of Athens. I studied architecture in Rome, a very powerful university. So I also served my military service in the region of Imathia. After the military service, he started working and then he got married and had children, 3 of them. Since 1975, he has a technical study office and also expresses fresh ideas when it comes to visual arts, including architecture, painting, sculpture, and photography. Since 1980, he became a spirit donor and he took part in exhibitions. Many important works of Dimos Flessas might be found hanging on the walls of museums or in their warehouses. Some of them have been purchased by collectors, and they can fit with many different design schools, such as Art Nouveau, Deco. The most important works are inside still in his brain and have not been exhibited or even created yet. That was my CV, so now you have an idea of who I am. Now, when it comes to art, well, I haven't studied in a school of fine arts, no. I have an instinctive relationship with art, but it has helped me a lot in my life, and the same applies to ecology. I will now show you an image which combines these two elements, and it is a representative not only of myself, but every human being. It's the first photo. You can see here. At the age of 12, when I was in the first class of secondary education, a classmate invited me on the island of Aegina to spend a few days with him. So I woke up and my friends were still sleeping, and I decided to paint the landscape that I could see in front of me. It was a really nice landscape. I was surrounded by pistachio trees. The sea was a little bit far away, and I could see at the background the island of Agistri. I don't want you to focus on the picture. It's nice, okay, but what I want to focus on is the choice of perspective, of angle I chose. Right in the middle there is a column by the telecommunications organization. It's a sign that something is not working very well. It's a telegraph post. And a child can very easily perceive something that doesn't fit in the landscape. It's much easier for children than for adults. So I studied architecture, and this is how I make my living. I haven't received many titles or awards, but what makes me feel nice is that I have made a lot of people happy in the homes we have built together. And that's my greatest success. Why I became an architect? Well, it's interesting to share that story with you. I didn't choose that profession. It was chosen by my parents. Here I will show you another photo. Do you remember the infamous poster during uh, during the war between the during the U.S. Civil War? That was a very famous, popular poster. Anyway, I thank my parents for choosing architecture for me because it was indeed a good fit. That's the infamous poster. My father was a lawyer, and he could have urged me to become a lawyer myself. But he did all he could to prevent me from becoming a lawyer. He used to bring me in his lawyer's practice to order coffees for his clients. So I could see this atmosphere who was charged with people that were very intense, used to smoke. There was a library full of volumes, black books with the golden letters. And many files from cases, and it didn't seem at all interesting for a child. So I wouldn't go that way. I became an architect. I studied architecture in Italy. Italy for me was an important station, a tipping point in my life for two reasons. Three rather. The first one is that I went of my mother. The second one is that I filled in that gap between the ancient Greece and modern life, thanks to my presence in Italy. And third, I met my partner in life, my wife. So these three things were very important for me. I remember the last piece of advice by my father when I left for Italy. He said, and please don't look at it under the racist perspective. He said, be careful of Italian girls. He paid for my studies, so he didn't want me to fall in love with a stranger and abandon my studies. Well, I didn't fall in love with an Italian. I even reached the Arctic Circle. It's funny, this is why I'm laughing. It's the truth though. When I came back to Greece, I started my career as an architect. And back then, there was a peak in the construction activities throughout Greece. I call this period the happy aphasia. You could see construction sites all around you and the society of consumption. And I want to say something that's very frequent, a frequent misunderstanding in relation to architects and artists. Many people believe that artists are prophets. They can see the future. That's a myth. This is not the case. But an artist has the time to observe some things that the other people don't observe, simply because the rhythm of life do not allow them to breathe and observe. So I'm going to share my personal example. When I undertook one of my first jobs at Nea Penteli, I had to go from Kifisia and over the hill of Kokinaras, and I looked and I could see the view of the entire Athens up to the Saronikos Gulf. So I was observing, and there was a strange yellow cloud over the city. That was back in the 80s. It was the beginning of the fog. The pollution fog, I mean. So this is not a prophecy. It's not that I could see the future, it's just that I observed it. It was crystal clear, it was very obvious to me.
So at some point I got down from the mountain
με μία πλάκα στα χέρια,
and I was holding a plate in my hand. It didn't have the 10 commandments, it had a single commandment.
έπρεπε με κάποιο τρόπο
It was a concern, a message that I had to share with others. And given that I was an architect and a visual artist, I decided to
την επαγρύπνηση, αν θέλετε, ή το καμπανάκι.
talk about that, to share this concern of mine in the best way that I could.
Η σειραφή, η
And
αποτύπωση της πραγματικότητας
that way
και της ρήπανσης
was a depiction of consumption,
ίσως ήταν σημαντικό το σημείο.
maybe that point was very important.
Τέλος πάντων. Εντάξει, συνεχίζω. Αν αισθάνθηκα λοιπόν την
Let me go on.
ιστορία
So I had to show what was going on in the most dynamic way possible. And I was able to do that through collages.
εβδομαδιαία περιοδικά που είχαν διαφημίσεις και
So I was just collecting various bits and pieces from the daily press, and that's how I published my first patchwork.
έτσι ξεκίνησε η ιστορία. Να αρχίσω λοιπόν να σας δείχνω τα έργα. Εδώ βλέπετε
Here you can see a token of this patchwork.
τον κόσμο που είναι σκαρφαλωμένο
You can see the cement people on there,
συνεχίζω στο ίδιο πνεύμα επίσης
the Athenians.
βλέπετε με
Again, you see the same things.
ο άνθρωπος που είναι πίσω από τα πετά
The person behind the cement
τα καταναλωτικά
is not obvious, just the consumerism society and its products.
εδώ είναι μια μεγαλούπολη μπορεί να
Here you can see the big city. It might be Athens or anything else. It is a compilation of cement, chimneys, in a castle-like structure. You can see what's going on. It is a daily routine.
εδώ είναι μια εικόνα της Αθήνας
And here you can see an overview of Athens. You can see the Parthenon, old, new houses, more cement.
δεν έχω τίποτα να πω άλλο πάνω σε αυτό το πράγμα γιατί
What's left to say? What's left to add?
εδώ ήθελα να προσέξουμε λίγο περισσότερο
And I would like to draw your attention to that. Do you remember the image I showed you before, the one I had painted when I was 12? There was a stellograph post at the center of my painting. I didn't have the recollection of that painting, but here we have a column crushing an apricot. And it shows the pressure exerted by the consumerism society. You can see that the cement takes the form and the character of the humans living in it.
που βλέπετε εκεί είναι του Βίλι Μπραντ
And the ear and the eye you see there was the ear and the eye of Willy Brandt.
πάλι γειτονία της κατανάλωσης
Again,
αυτά τα συστήματα
consumer society. And those are things that you can see. I have come across them rather in printed advertisements in the newspaper. It's again tragic and funny because they try to showcase what's going on with the environment. Here you can see another table, another painting rather. You can see the flow of things around money, the symbol of our times, and the whole struggle around money. Red faces in full tension. It's a patchwork from various bits and pieces of newspapers and magazines.
ένα δάσος από μπετά
This is a forest of cement
νερά που είναι γεμάτα από
and water full of garbage.
αυτό είναι το πνεύμα της πρώτης σειράς η οποία
And that's the spirit of my first series, let's say, of works. That was what I wanted to share and express myself. I wanted to discuss about ecology and art. A forest of cement I don't know whether you can see on one side the couple that is frozen. Nature has a beauty that cannot be altered or distorted, again as seen through patches taken from the press. And the horizon is full of human flesh. Those are the aspects taken from the patchwork. This is the image, a picture rather, I was looking at from my office window. It was the query at Turkovounia in Athens. Those are realistic images inspired by actual real images. And here you can see another project that's related to Greek myths. So you can see Ulysses tied up on the mast of his ship. They're sailing along the sirens. And by sirens, of course, I'm talking about the various commodities. Here you can see, of course, Gioconda. I want to give the impression that our society bears the characteristics of the past. I don't know whether you can read the text. I think they're written in Italian. Well, I cannot read them from here. Maybe you can discern them. I don't know what they're writing. And here we have woman to the service of subjugated by advertising. You can see a mountain of the modern society items, elements from the past. You can see Coca-Cola sitting on top of the mountain, as well as an ancient Greek column. And here you can see the typical painting that we had in most of our living room, with flowers, and then another table with fruit. This is another patchwork. The well-known flower painting. I believe that again there's a pack of cigarettes and a pen. And that's another typical dining room painting where we have fruit placed within tins. And here I'm trying to express the religious feeling. I'm not a man of religion, but I believe that the element of religion in its existential form is omnipresent within humans. Here you can see a crucified person on a cement column, and we have people running all over the place on a daily basis, struggling. Again, another religious topic. We have the wizards bearing gifts to the newborn. We talk about detergents, bottles of whiskey, and so on and so forth. And we have not the Star of Bethlehem, we have the Star of Martel. I don't know whether you can tell. So, this patchwork period lasted for a decade. And then at some point, I wanted to see who's the man lying behind this surface. And I started looking at my children playing by the sea. And the man hidden is a simple person, a lay person. And you can see that person is nothing but a container with the various appendices, meaning hands, legs, and a sphere-like head. And this is how I end up with the model I have in my work until today. It is the modern human form, and you can see the Greek references. It's the man linked to the shadow theater. And I was inspired from Karagios, the shadow theater of Greece. That's all. And that was a key element, a key component of my work. Now, this layman, 4 minutes left? Okay. So, 5 λεπτά, 6 ίσως. So it's the man that goes to work. They are working out for pleasure. Here is the model. Here you can see a penguin-like person. You can see the profile. There were roller skates on the feet so that they can run all over the place. And here you can see some screenshots from their daily life, a family picture. The spouse sitting on the bed, and a child at the barber shop. And this is a real, actual picture. Because I believe that when you go to the barber shop and see yourself in the mirror, and the barber is not very talkative, you have some time to reflect. That's what I did. I was looking in the mirror, looking at my own icon. And that's how it all got out. Now, I would like to show you the price that people have to pay for culture and what it costs in order for them to achieve this level of culture and civilization. There's a people relaxing in the traditional coffee shop. You can see people smoking. And geometry is a key part of our identity. And here you can see a combination of Italy and Greece. You can see the ladies standing in front of the soccer player, just like the soccer players stand in front of the person kicking a goal during a foul. I don't know, I may have bored you a lot with all those details. Those are people in their summer holiday, and normally all those things should be accompanied by songs, but I'm afraid I cannot sing because we don't have much time. But along with Tony, we're going to sing a song eventually. Now, people in the religious setting, ancient art, This is a person carrying a cow, inspired from a statue at the Acropolis Museum. This is the Botticelli, the Christ descending work at the Christ descending from the cross. Here you can see other medieval sources of inspiration. This is Monet's lunch on the grass. This series is rather funny. I was inspired by cards, although I don't play cards. And you can see the opposition in life. 2 more minutes, okay. And what is interesting with those cards is that you can flip them. It's a commercial element. You have 2 in 1. You can flip it and you can see things that were opposite coming on the top and so on and so forth. This is war and peace, or peace and war if you flip it. No, that's the war and peace. And that's another sculpture that has to do with water. I know that Enrico has included the element of water there. I'd like to show you some of my pieces of work that had to do with water. Women going to the source. Water is a source of life. A woman carrying water. That's the mermaid from the Greek myth, saying that when Alexander the Great died, there was a mermaid, and the captain was being asked by the mermaid, but is Alexander the Great alive? And the captain said no, the mermaid would sink the boat. I think that I can conclude at this point. I have more things to say, but I'm afraid we don't have more time. So, at this point, I'd like to invite Tony to sing with me. And this will conclude this session, because this entire series of works is a rather pessimistic series of works, but it sends a message. So I'd like to conclude this presentation with an optimistic song, because the optimistic message is that we can preserve our planet. That's what Mr. Enrico does, and this is why we're gathered here today.
Trees of green, red roses too, I see them bloom for me and you, and I say to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred night, and I said to myself, what a wonderful world. And I said to myself, what a wonderful world.
I do hope that it was fun for you and it was not too tiring. And my message was ecology, through art, of course.